I did some thinking and deep dive into what my competitive advantage is as an entrepreneur, and I've nailed it down to the 5 P's of synergy is what I'm going to call it. And we're going to jump right in. The very first P stands for problem solving. When it comes to problem solving, as an entrepreneur, you're always looking for problems because where there is a problem, there is a solution. And if you're the one with the solution, guess what? You can charge somebody for that, and that's how you make revenue. So one of the things that is going to have to be the basis of your business is good problem solving skills. And in order to solve problems, step number 1 is you've actually got to identify what that problem is. I will link up here a video that talks about how I'll get paid to solve problems. This will give you a little bit more insight on how you can be looking in your industry and in your niche to try to find problems that you too can solve and then get paid for. So step 2, after you have identified the problem, then you have to find and vet possible solutions. And when it comes to these solutions, these may be solutions that you as your company already have, or it may be another vendor has this solution. What are the potential solutions that are available? And is it something that you already have where you can sell? Is it something that is available through another vendor that you can be the middle person and actually give it to the client because maybe they don't know about it? Or maybe you could do it in a consulting role where you're actually going out and saying, let me find the solution for your particular problem. So step 1 is identify what the problem is, and step 2 is find all your viable solutions for that particular problem. The second P stands for people. I am a firm believer that you have to have the right people in place. If you do not have the right people on your team, you will never ever be successful. So what does it mean to have the right people? So from my standpoint is the right people for my organization is always going to be someone who has excellent customer service. So let's go to the whiteboard. So the next one is people. People is going to be your team. People are going to be the partnerships that you perform or that you're a part of. P is going to be the people that are going to help you to get to the next level. Now, in my organization, we pride ourselves on having exemplary customer service. So whenever we get ready to hire people, the very first question is, what are your customer service skills? Tell us a time when you had to deal with a customer who was about to have an unfavorable outcome. How do you give good customer service in your previous position? Everything else we can teach. Everything else is technical. I can teach you how to say the names of a drug. I can teach you how to read reject codes and how to get it to a paid claim status. But what I can't teach you is how to have good customer service skills. So for us, hiring the right people means they must have good customer service skills. Now, when you go back and you do this exercise on your own, you need to list out what makes a good person for your particular team. And a lot of these things, when it comes to people, it starts with you as the owner first. I am an advocate for good customer service. I visit certain places and frequent certain places like Publix over Kroger because the experience and the customer experience is just different. And so therefore it starts with the top down. It starts with leadership. So if you yourself are not getting the business that you want, or you're not retaining the business that you want, then initially you should look inside yourself and say, what is it about me that makes me the right people for these clients that I am trying to serve? And therefore you should be able to get out what makes the team that you're trying to attract on the same line as you are. So the second piece for us is also going to be problem solving. In my opinion, in order for you to have good customer service, you've got to be able to solve problems. Okay. If you're not able to solve my problem, then being nice about it is really not helping me. So you need to be courteous, nice, but you also need to be able to implement, fix, find what my problem is and solve it. Okay. So problem solving here and customer service is going to go hand in hand when I'm looking to build out my particular team. Another thing I need is someone who can work fairly independent. Okay. And by that, I mean someone that can think for themselves. So if there is a claim that has rejected and you know the steps that usually it takes to get it resolved, if for whatever reason those steps may not apply to every situation, you need to be able to independently think on your own to say, okay, how can I actually solve this problem for the member, for the customer, for the client? How can I get to the desired result because all of that is going back to encompassing good customer service. So for us, so far, we've got good customer service, being able to problem solve, independent, and I think a lot of people want their team to have good teamwork and culture. I think that's always going to be a plus, and we should never leave that out. So culture, teamwork, I would even put innovation goes with this, because as a small business owner, it's no longer just you. If you build out the right team and you have people on your team that think innovatively like you, they're also looking for problems that your clients may have. They're also looking for better ways to do things, more efficient ways to do the work. And so therefore, these are the main 4 things that I will always look for when I am trying to hire the right people. So when you go do this exercise, I want you to do the same thing. What does a good person for your team actually look like? All right, and number 3 is going to be process. Process is important for both your people, and it's also important for your clients or customers. The reason being, you have identified the problem, you've implemented the solution, and the solution and the process has to fit and has to actually solve the problem. And it also has to be a process that your people can naturally follow. It has to be efficient. It has to make sense, because therefore you have the right people, but they're frustrated and bogged down by your process. Then eventually you're not going to be able to satisfy your customer by solving their problem in the best way possible. So process is the 3rd on the list. The other reason why process is important is because as you begin to scale, your processes need to be one in which they can just run on themselves. They come second nature. And therefore, whenever you having to add on more people because you're adding on more clients, the process is practically the same. The onboarding is the same. It can be easily replicated. So therefore, it causes you to be able to scale faster because you have your process in place. And then the other thing that we always like to talk about is process improvement. Okay. Well, this is important because guess what? If you do not have a process in place to start with, then you're not going to be able to improve it. All right. And I can tell you as a small business owner right now, we're going through where we're having to write down a lot of the things that we do. So these are creating work instructions, creating policies and procedures. We've always had them for the things that we had to have for like regulatory compliance audits. But what we haven't had them for, doing a very good job, is just training of bringing on new people. The process is the same. Our tools are the same that you use. The process of reaching out to people, all that stuff is the same. And so how do we get that into a training module and training deliverables so that people can onboard faster? Okay, the process of actually getting their computers set up, all that stuff needs to be documented and refined or improved over time so that as you scale up, it just becomes second nature on, we got to hire 10 people tomorrow. That's fine. Here's the instructions on how to do that. These 10 people need to be trained by next week. Great. Here's the training schedule and what they need to do in order. So therefore, if you've got the right process in place, you can continue to tweak it and therefore have successful process improvement strategies in place. And again, this is important because if you don't have the right process in place, it will wear down your right people, which will then affect your clients that you're solving problems for. So the fourth one is platform. And so I used to call this, whenever I did business proposals, I would say you needed the 3 rights is how I would have it in my PowerPoint deck. And the 3 rights were the right people, the right process, and the right technology. And as you can see, we've already talked about the process and the people. And then I asked ChatGPT for a word that begins with P that is synonymous to technology, and platform came out. And I absolutely love it because what happens is the platform is going to set up your process for success. And it is also going to set up, in turn, your people for success. So for our company, we have a CRM, which is a client relationship management tool. I encourage you to have one. It's going to look different, whatever industry that you're in. So usually what these things involve is a way for you to keep up with your prospects, your leads, your customers, your clients, whatever you want to call them. What did you sell them? What does your contract look like? How do you keep up with them? How do they want to be contacted? Those type things. And then once you land a client, whatever services that you're doing for them, like for us, we're making making phone calls to their membership, and we're asking them why aren't they adherent to certain medications. We're asking them to participate in a comprehensive medication review. All those things are documented in our CRM tool, so that if that person calls back at another date because maybe they're returning our phone call, or another team member picks up the call or goes to reach out to them for something else, they have historical notes on what somebody else has already talked to them about. That is all because of a platform. Could you imagine if you were calling in somewhere to get something resolved and you explained it and it's okay, well, I'm going to go and do some research and then I'll get back to you. And then after 3 days, you haven't heard anything from anybody. So you call them back and you say, hey, my name is Ranarda Jones. I had called a couple of days ago and told somebody what I was dealing with. They said they were going to call me back and I haven't heard from them. And then the associate says, okay, well, tell me your date of birth. Tell me what the issue is. Tell me who you talked to. Tell me what they told you. Wouldn't that be frustrating? And that tells you that they didn't have a proper platform in place to actually keep up with those historical notes. That's why it's important to have the right platform, so that you can actually have a good process. And sometimes in process improvement, guess what you have to improve? You have to improve the platform. Okay. And so I hope you're seeing by now how all of these are going together. So before we get to the fifth one, let's talk about what we've talked about so far. We've talked about problem solving was the very first one. And then in order to solve someone's problems, we got to make sure we hire the right people, which was our second one. And then from there, not only having the right people, but then you also have to have the right process so that your clients are able to have their problem solved without wearing down your people. And also now we're under platform, which is going to support our process, which in turn supports our people and problem solving or our clients. Okay, so that's kind of how all these things go together. The final P is going to be partnership. And when I say partnership, this is very important to me. I never think of ourselves as a vendor. We think of ourselves as a partner. Usually when you think of a vendor, it's somebody that you're telling them to do something. I need you to make 100 phone calls to this population by this date. I need for you to go out and survey this piece of land and come back and give me the measurements, the quote, whatever, all that kind of stuff. It's more like you're telling the vendor what to do. Or also with a vendor type relationship, the vendor could have solved the problem that you had. My problem is I'm having trouble outreaching some members or some clients. And so the vendor has a solution for it because they've got access to additional contact information that you don't have. So they're going to give it to you. It's transactional in a vendor type relationship. Partnership, on the other hand, allows you to build relationships with your clients. And I've said this before, people do business with people they like and people that they trust. So when you're building out these partnerships, you'll begin to get what you call brand champions within these organizations. And brand champions are super important. And they're not just all the time the people that signing the contracts. It could be the people that you're working with. We have a person that does procurement for one of our clients, and they are so pro our company. They put out in emails, they tell people on calls that we're one of the best partners that they have. And one reason why they feel that way is because whenever they ask us for something, we don't take 2 and 3 weeks to get them an answer back. We answer as quickly as we can. We answer as accurately as we can and as transparent as we can. When we don't know, when we've messed up, we're not for sure what they're asking or what they want. We don't just say, oh, well, we'll get back to you and try and figure it out. We just flat out say, you know what, I'm not for sure what you're talking about, or I've totally misunderstood this. Help me to understand. So those type things build great partnerships. And then when you have great partnerships, what occurs is you not only do you have these brand champions, but it puts you in line for new business. Okay. I usually tell my clients, if you ever let us get in the door, you're not going to be able to tell where you stop and where we begin, because we get so intertwined in their book of business, so intertwined in their operations, because not only are we trying to help them be more efficient and run smoothly, but we're also trying to look for opportunities or other problems that we may be in position to solve. So therefore, it's going to set you up to have new business. And then the other piece is it's going to allow them to tell other people, and word of mouth will always be the cheapest advertising and marketing that you can get. And it'll also be the most successful because it's coming from a brand champion or a client to another peer who is trusting what that person is saying about you as a vendor, about you as their partner. And they're more likely to do business with you because someone they know has already entered into that relationship with you, gotten great results from you, and are able to speak firsthand. So therefore now they will come on to you as new business. And so new business, brand champions, word of mouth for new business, and also for client retention. Okay, that's important. Once you do all this work to bring on clients, to bring on staff, the last thing you want is for them to leave you. Okay, so it is very important that you have these right relationships, that you've developed the right partnership so that your clients that you've prospected for, that you've worked so hard for, actually stay with you. So those are the 5 P's of my framework. Again, it's going to start with problem solving in the middle, because you can't have a business if they're not identified problems that you have actually solved, that you can actually sell. And then that leads into having the right people on your team to be able to facilitate solving these problems and executing the action plan. In order to set your people up for success, you want to make sure that you have the right process in place and that that process is documented so that you can actually use that to replicate and scale in the future. And then from process, you want to make sure that you have the right platform, because if you have the right platform to support the right process, then your improvement strategy and your execution is going to be a whole lot better and more efficient. And then from there, you always want to make sure that you're developing partnerships with your clients and not necessarily a vendor-client relationship, because that's just going to set you up for more success and more business and finding other problems to solve and continuing to retain that client. So hopefully you found this video very helpful. Please take the time to go back and rewatch this video, pause it after each one of the P's, and write down exactly what you think each one of them means to you and your business. So as for now, we will see you in the next video.